All right, NYB, Champ Ron, your host, the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own. Hope this finds you doing well. Hope you're safe and secure with friends and family. And if you've been impacted by this current pandemic, just know that there are resources out there for you. You're not alone. You're not on an island. You may be challenged with certain circumstances, but now is a great opportunity. So now your perspective is challenged. Okay. The world has changed. Whatever you call normal, we're probably not going back to that. You're going to have to create a new normal, right? And so this creates a unique opportunity for all of us to challenge our critical thinking and look at what you're doing and look at where opportunities and where your skill set lies. And if you need to make a change or a pivot, know that you need to do that, whether you're in the workforce, whether you're in business ownership, whether you're in real estate as a landlord or whatever it is. Make sure that you're looking at where opportunities are. If you're fortunate to not have been impacted or impacted heavy, this still creates opportunity. Don't have your head on a swivel and have your vision, have your eyes, ears, and all your senses open, because now, again, there's a great opportunity to be able to enhance or grow your business as trends change and as consumer behavior changes. So don't be the dinosaur. All right. Have your vision and everything open so that you can evolve as the environment evolves. Subscribe, listen to the podcast, 5-star, wherever you get your pods on Apple. That helps us continue to share great content, great guests, and expand the reach of this particular podcast. So I thank you all so much. We just recorded episode 150 a little while ago. So, thank you guys for going on this ride with me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the support and such. So listen, I am excited about today's guest that's joining me. Cody Barbo is joining me with Trust and Will. And, this is going to be, I want you guys to really pay attention in today's episode, because we're going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to all of us, no matter what your situation is, no matter where you find yourself. Really take note of this, because this is extremely important subject matter that we're going to talk about today that even transcends business. And so, Cody, thank you so much for joining me, man. I appreciate it. I know that you're busy with a lot of things, but thank you so much, man.
Yeah, my pleasure, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Excellent. So, Cody, let's dig in. Tell me about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Yeah. So born and raised in Southern California in Orange County. Yep. I know. Terrible place to grow up. Beautiful weather, beautiful people, but a happy upbringing, which my parents raised my brother now with strong values, strong family values, which I've carried with me now 30 years later. But I made my way to San Diego 13 years ago to go to college at San Diego State University, where I, typical path starting like any other student, just little man on big campus, but ended up as student body president my senior year.
Wow.
And it was a pretty transformational experience, because the CEO role that you're in, a part of this umbrella organization, is a $30 million nonprofit with 80 full-time employees, 1,000 part-time. And we manage and operate 7 on and off campus facilities. So to be 21 years old and have all this incredible talent around you, a strong vision, goals, and knowing that legacy will continue on, because it's only a 1-year term. So the next year predecessor will take over. It rewired my brain in terms of what I thought I was capable of. And originally I had this path of going into business and working for big tech. Little did I know that I'd end up in tech myself as an entrepreneur. So over the last decade now, I've now started 3 companies, 2 venture-backed, and Trust and Will, my current business, we've been at it for 2.5 years. And really the vision was to set out to build the TurboTax for estate planning. As we get married, have kids, buy our first home, start to build our wealth, we start to make more adulting, responsible decisions, like working with a financial advisor, setting up life insurance. Absolutely. And especially when you have kids, which you do and now do I, you are a little more selfless than selfish. And protecting your legacy through life insurance and through setting up a will for guardianship is really a big hook for a lot of people. Yeah. So that's the quick version. And there's a longer story to how we started Trust and Will and why, but I'll pause there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, definitely a lot to unpack there, Cody. And so how did you dive into that particular space, particularly at a young age? because like you said, most people get into the space in terms of, estate planning and things like that for themselves at an age, like you say, maybe a little older and
Mhm.
a little bit more experience. They're a little, maybe
Mhm.
further in their career and that sort of thing. How did you kind of get into that, at such a young age?
Yeah. So 3 years ago, right before my wife and I got married, we sat down and we had that, kind of awkward dinner conversation. We're like, hey, we should probably talk about finances. We're going to have joint finances. We should talk. Do you have life insurance? Do you have a will? And
Right.
I had life insurance. I'd set up a life insurance policy. She had it through her work. But a will was not something that either of us had or really thought of. So we're a little ahead of the curve. And it was just so timely because my two co-founders, good friends prior and still good friends in, 2.5 years into the business,
Yeah.
similar life stage. They're married. They're just having their first kids. It's very much we're on the same wavelength. And turns out half of millennials, which many of us are 30 to 40 now, we're not a bunch of kids anymore, are
Right.
having kids, buying houses, building their wealth, and
Absolutely.
also are starting to think about these things for the first time. So being a fairly financially savvy millennial, there's a fintech app for everything I need finance and investment related. There's a lot of great insurance technology startups that have popped up like Ladder, Ethos, Bestow, Health IQ, Policygenius. You probably get their ads all the time.
Yeah.
And then on estate planning, crickets. I wasn't getting any targeted advertising. And the only thing in my mind at the time was go spend $3,000 to $5,000 with an attorney, which is great. It is really, honestly, you're getting the best set of documents, but that is not affordable for a lot of families. But then
Right.
there's the educational barrier. Well, what is an estate plan? What is the difference between a trust and a will? And there's different types of trust, and every state has different laws. And then how long does it take? Does it take 3 weeks or does it take 3 months? So there's just kind of ambiguity and fragmentation to the process that most people don't know. And you're not required to have one. You don't technically have to have life insurance. You don't have to have a will or an estate plan.
Right.
So you're left with these kind of loose online options, and I'll not name the institutions, but they're two big players that you would know.
Sure.
And their product is very transactional, and estate planning is not. As you get married, have kids or multiple kids, buy and sell homes over the course of your lifetime, build your wealth, and go through life, there's dozens of events that should trigger an update to the estate plan, and there's not a seamless and affordable way to update it. So we felt that the market was massively underserved from a technology perspective. And two, when we looked at the numbers, it was alarming. The fact that half the population does not have an estate plan, and then the half that does often has out-of-date documents. You did it when your first kid was born. It's in a box in the garage, or it's in one of these filing cabinets I'm pulling up here on camera.
Right.
And you forget about it. And your attorney's not incentivized to get you on the phone every year because the updates are usually minor and every 2 to 3 years. So we really wanted to build trust, ease of use, and affordability baked into our DNA. And that's why you'll hear me use the TurboTax example time and time again. But that was kind of the backstory to why we wanted to pursue this, is to go help half the population that doesn't have these documents, and then the other half that does be able to update them easily and affordably for the everyday family, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Why do you think, Cody, kind of across the country, that we don't, I guess, educate people on that? Why has that education been so lax? You would think that, kind of coming up through school, that's obviously a major skill set to be able to have the foresight to recognize that and put that documentation in place, even coming up. Why do you think we don't have that?
We don't prioritize it. The education system in this country does not prioritize financial knowledge. It's not baked in from a young age. It should be as early as elementary school, through middle school, through high school, all the way through college. Mandatory required education around basic finances.
Absolutely.
And that's why most college students are setting up their first bank account in college, not when they're in middle school or high school, is because there's an on-campus credit union. And that's just, it's so alarming that I can still talk to people my age now in their 30s that don't have life insurance, don't have an estate plan, don't work with a financial advisor, and are starting to make good money now.
Right.
They're not invested in the stock market. They're not in a diversified portfolio. And it doesn't have to be a lot. That's why these fintech apps like Stash and Robinhood, Acorns are phenomenal options, SoFi, because it gets people started sooner rather than, to your point, when you're in your 40s or 50s. And now you're like, oh, wait, I need to think about retirement in 10 years and I don't have anything saved up. So, I put life insurance and estate planning in that financial wellness bucket, that it's just never communicated. And it's an uncomfortable subject in some capacity because they are death documents, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, it's not the sexiest of subjects to talk about your life transition, right?
Right.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So Cody, as you start the business,
Mhm.
so you and your business partners get together. Obviously, you see a need, right? That
Yeah.
creates this opportunity. Talk about those early days. How did you set up the business? What were some of the first things that you guys did?
Mhm.
How were those conversations with your first clients? And
Yeah.
talk about those early days.
So this is round 3 for me, and I've learned a ton over the last decade. And
Yeah.
your ideas, kind of a more macro perspective on entrepreneurship, your idea can honestly be mediocre. We are not reinventing the wheel. There are dozens of online will solutions, but not a single one of those has become the category leader like a TurboTax. TurboTax services 40 million Americans' tax needs every single year.
Sure.
And that's just not a company that exists in market today. So there's never been a brand behind the industry. And then one especially that puts a more positive spin, not this death-related death document spin on it.
Right.
So it's our mission to lead with a great brand, build a great product, but more importantly in the early days, going back to your question, to validate, is this a painkiller or is this a vitamin? Is this like a nice to have, or do people really actually need and want this, and they will stop what they're doing in terms of shopping on Amazon to prioritize setting up an estate plan for their family? So
Sure.
we basically went out, to my point earlier, reflection of our network in their 30s, getting married, having kids. And we're like, hey, do you have even to our parents' generation, do you have an estate plan? And half of the 50 plus crowd does not.
Wow.
No. Okay. Well, if you do have one, when did you set it up? Why did you set it? Oh, we set it up when our kids were born. We updated it when we bought our home. We put the home in the trust. And now we're planning for kind of the 4th season in life versus
Sure.
our family building stage or season. And then for a lot of our younger friends, if they had kids, it was very top of mind. There's almost an embarrassment that I don't have that. Where do I go to set it up?
Yeah.
Versus our married friends, and then our single friends were like, who needs a will? I'm invincible. I'm going to live forever. Just kind of that mindset that you would expect. But it was so validating to hear, because our assumption was based on our own lives. Hey, we're getting married, we're starting families. And then for our friends that had kids already, it was just like, where do you have this product live today? Like, I will do it and I'll pay whatever money's appropriate to set it up. So that really became our thesis. And we went and surveyed hundreds of our friends in our network between my and Brian's alma mater, San Diego State. Daniel went to school in Baylor. So all his friends from Texas were married with kid number 3 by the time they're 30. Right. And it was very validating to hear that from a younger demographic. Because we're like, if we can convince young people to do this sooner, we, over a period of time, can really build out a robust product and service platform, not just one document set, that can really help them grow and protect their wealth as they go and navigate through life over the next 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. So that was really the start, is tapped into our existing network before putting up some little growth hack wait list or anything like that.
Sure. Absolutely. So Cody, what, any objections or roadblocks that you guys faced as you're coming through those early days, and you obviously your proof of concept's there, without question. Walk me through or unpack any objections or maybe obstacles that you faced kind of coming through that.
Yeah, so I've raised venture capital and private angel investments before. So going into this business to start, we were putting some pretty big sacrifices up in terms of what our salary potential would be at bigger companies. So we fundraised straight out of the gate. We're like, we need to pay ourselves a little bit to like get by until we have some validation of our thesis here, and then we can go raise our seed round, our first venture round. So we raised $500,000 from the start. We got accepted into Techstars, which is a global accelerator, one of the most well-respected tech accelerators in the world, up there with Y Combinator, 500 startups. And the biggest pushback we got was actually from investors, which is their job. Their job is to poke holes, to ask you the same question 5 different ways to see how you respond to it. Sure. And the pushback that we got, which was skewed from mostly older investors that have very strong opinions, you're never going to get young people to set this up. Wow. And our question back to them was, when did you set up your estate plan? Well, when I had kids. How old were you? I was in my 30s. Okay. So that was the biggest pushback. You're never going to get young people to do this. And trust was another big barrier, right? How are you going to get people to trust an online service that's so sensitive in terms of the decisions you're making, who gets your assets, who can make decisions medically and financial on your behalf, who looks after kids? How are you going to build that trust? So we've invested, and we'll unpack this a little bit more, but we've invested a ton of time, money, partnerships, press, everything we could possibly do to boost that trust. Because our biggest competitor is trust and procrastination, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's interesting for your business when you said that, because that's exactly what I was thinking, Cody, is there's not really another, sure, there's other companies, like you said, there's attorneys and things like that. But yeah, your biggest competitor is people's mindset and vision,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is, it's a tough competitor to say the least, but it's not inconquerable.
Right.
And so how to explain to me in NYB community, Cody, how it works. So we go to the website
Yep.
and then we do what?
Yeah, let me walk you through it. So people, now we've matured. So real quick. So last 2 years has been crazy. We've now raised over 8 million in venture capital. We've done almost 100,000 estate plans. We've partnered with big companies like MassMutual. We have some banking partnerships that we're going to announce here soon. We've, from an innovative side, completed the first electronic will in US history in the state of Nevada. So we're live nationwide, but electronic will means digital signature, digital notary, digital storage of documents. That's where this industry is headed.
Yeah.
And we've been featured in major publications like the New York Times, CNBC, TechCrunch, fill in the blank. We've probably had a plug on a variety of reasons.
Sure.
And we've taken tremendous pride in our customer experience. So this is where I walk you through. So if you're finding out about us through a press or through a partner, through a Google search, Instagram, Facebook, we send out direct mailers, or you're hearing about us on a podcast like this, people come to trustandwill.com. So leading with brand, trustandwill.com rolls off the tongue. It's very obvious as to who we are, what we do.
Sure.
You can very quickly educate yourself on an estate plan. What is an estate plan? Why trust and will? We lead with our reviews. We lead with our amazing best-in-class product experience. And then before you get started, we give a little quiz to all prospective new members, which is if you own a home, if you have assets, if you want to appoint guardians for your kids, you want to protect your legacy with final arrangements. Do you want to be buried, cremation, all that stuff? The quick quiz takes less than a minute. It's going to funnel you into one of our products. So most estate planning attorneys are going to recommend a revocable living trust, which is that $3,000 to $5,000 package. We offer a revocable living trust, but it's $500.
Sure.
And a trust really is geared towards the homeowner or the wealth builder. You don't have to start there. So we actually take a step back. Okay, now we have our will package, which is the last will and testament, healthcare documents, power of attorney. So everything from cataloging your assets, so who gets your stuff, who looks after your kids, who can make those medical and financial decisions on your behalf, all the way through final arrangements. That's $129, and it takes 15 minutes. The trust takes half an hour, will takes 15 minutes. And then the guardian document or product is a nomination of guardian form. So if you're a new parent, you don't own a home, you don't want to think about death, but if something were to happen, at least you have peace of mind knowing that your kids are taken care of. Guardian is a $49 document.
Wow.
Now, all three of these, you can go through the entire experience 100% to completion without payment, because one of the things that we want to prioritize is building that trust. So very much like a TurboTax-like flow, it's one question per page. You have an FAQ that's sliding up from the bottom, answering or educating you every step of the way. We have live chat support with real members from our team in San Diego. We don't outsource or offshore it. They're basically trained experts in trust and estates that are working under the wing of our in-house attorney, answering any questions you may have. And it's that trust building, that live communication. You can book a phone call with us. You can take as much time as you need because your information's auto-saved, so you can come back and review the decisions with you or your spouse. And all the way at the end, you get a full preview of your documents. So just got a draft watermark. If there's anything you want to change, you jump right back into that section, make the change. And then once you've paid, that's when we release the final documents to you. Now, the final documents, regardless of which product you choose, you can print at home, or what we prefer is we have this beautiful packaging that we print and ship from our office, so from our fulfillment center in-house. They ship out within a day. They get to your doorstep within a week. They're all state specific and come with instructions on how to make them legally valid documents. So signature, notary, and witnesses signing as well. And we're really proud of that experience overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to dig into, because I appreciate you sharing that process, Cody, because I guess the thought, and again, my background's in banking, and we launched at one of the last credit unions I was the VP at, we launched DocuSign, of course. And, that was it was a culture shock to the credit union, because, that whole notion, and this was 2017. So this has been, 3 years, but there was a culture shock to, the customer or the member, doing it that way and executing it. And then for us on the back end, so you had the frontline user and then us on the back side, having to change our culture. And it actually turned out to be very successful, as we did a lot of auto loans.
Yeah.
So, which in some cases not only requires that signature, but there is some notary on things like titles, and
Right.
things like that. So I think about that, and I think about your process. And so, when you develop the trust, is how did you go about having a process where the documents can be validated per se?
Yeah.
That every state has different laws.
Yeah.
And all those type of things. That seems like that would have been, maybe a bit of a challenge, but it seems like you guys cleared that hurdle pretty easy.
Well, not easy. It took us 2 years to get here. So I'll paint a little timeline. So we've now raised 8 million to date. We did $500,000 as a pre-seed angel investment round. We did 1.5 million seed round, and then we did a $6 million Series A this past December. So when we launched our very first product, which was in April 2018, we had just finished Techstars. It was just a last will and testament in California and Texas. That was it. We're like, we got a product to market, and that was a checkbox.
Yeah.
And then we're like, okay, now we got to get the will live nationwide. So we spent literally the rest of the year getting that will product nationwide, and we have to go state by state.
Sure.
And we have our first hire was Patrick Hicks. He's a decade-long trust and estates attorney. Absolutely incredible. It's probably one of the most important hires we've made since we started this business. Sure. And he took a very calculated approach to how he built out all of these state-specific documents. Because it's not just a template. Some of the language has to be fairly boilerplate due to the state-specific requirements. But in terms of the customization that every family potentially can have or want to put into our documents, we're pretty flexible with that. It's really where we start to bounce people out is like the ultra high net worth, the 1% is not really designed for our product, and that's okay because they can afford a $10,000 a year attorney.
Sure.
Now, 2019, we raised our seed round. So now we've raised 2 million to date. And in January, we launched our trust, which was just California and Texas again. So those are the states we have the 2 biggest networks in. So we're like, hey, let's go slang some trust to our friends.
There you go.
And get them to do this. Yeah. And they'll be our guinea pigs. But it was a great product. It wasn't, wasn't duct taped or band-aided together. So from there, we then moved to rolling the trust out nationwide, which we did. I think about this time last year. The Guardian was fairly easy document because we just extracted that language from the will. And that was a product that was live nationwide from day one. So now here we are, 2020, we've now raised all this money, and where are we going now? So we have 2 new products. One is actually adding an attorney review and consultation. So versus just the self-service platform with live chat, starting in California, so it's not nationwide yet, but it's coming, is you get an attorney consultation with your documents. It's a premium upsell, but you get a real trust and estates attorney, client attorney privilege. They can talk through advanced planning, tax implications, the funding of the trust. This is really where we start to bridge the gap from what is just what most people would assume just a typical online service for wills into an attorney-led experience. So really taking that gap for the more mass affluent or for people that just want peace of mind. I want to talk to an attorney even though I trust him well.
Sure.
The second product is where you might have some interest in with your banking background is we have a product now for financial advisors. So we had so many financial advisors, wealth managers, independents reaching out to us last year saying, hey, I want my clients to have something rather than nothing. Even if they can't afford the $3,000 estate plan, even if they don't want to go make the appointment and spend 3 weeks to 3 months, I at least want to check off the box that my client has an estate plan and I feel confident in it. So we started seeing advisors set up their own estate plan for them and their families. And they're like, you know what, this is great. The price is great. The product was good. I like the chat support. And I like the fact that I can come back every year and make necessary updates. And because advisors have a much deeper relationship with their clients than a trust and will, if they know they're going to have a baby, buy a new home, sell their business, have an inheritance kick in, they can do proactive planning and not have any of the risk involved with the estate planning piece, since that's our business and that's what we do best. So we created a product for them to educate their clients, invite them into the trust and will ecosystem, and they have a little dashboard of tracking capabilities so they can see if their client started, where they're at, if they finished, and creating some new product improvements there. But really proud of that product rollout.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I would have an interest in that, particularly within my network. I network with a lot of financial advisors here, kind of in this Mid-South, Memphis area.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I believe, many of them would have an interest in your company and in your business as a value-added resource as they work within their portfolio and things like that, because many of them, your lane is not really their lane.
Right. Our favorite question to ask a financial advisor is, what percentage of your clients have an estate plan? And no one can answer it. And that's the beauty of the dashboard we've built, is that we help give them the tools and data that educate them on how many of their clients do have an estate plan and how to create a more involved and engaging conversation with them when they meet on whatever cadence that is every year.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cody Barbo, our guest today on with Trust and Will here on the Minding Your Business podcast, here episode number 151. So Cody, what's next for the company? So now you guys have gone through kind of, like you say, that initial stage that you've been successful fundraising. Again, the proof of concepts there. You've done, hundreds and hundreds of, estate plans and things like that, documentation for people that helps change lives and the course of lives, to be quite honest and frank. So, what do you see next on the horizon for your company?
Great question. So the pandemic has changed everything in everyone's lives around the world. And, for many businesses, they've absolutely gotten brutally massacred during this time. And I hope that they bounce back. Hospitality being one of the industries that I have a soft spot for, because that's a background that I worked in and many friends do. But then, businesses like ours, a lot of financial technology startups have really thrived during the pandemic. And our business doubled. It doubled in March from February, and it doubled again in April from March. And we really are looking at this as not to take advantage of the situation, but the fact that we're selling umbrellas in the rain versus selling them on a sunny day. So our product experience is the same, our customer success is the same, and even the documents that we're shipping out are the exact same. And we're a little more even sensitive in terms of our chat and phone-based communication and how people are responding during these times. So it really much confirmed that we are a painkiller, not a vitamin. Yeah. And it's given us a perspective that we didn't have prior to this happening, which is we have a product that really does give people peace of mind. And not many businesses can say that. They think they can say it, but we really can confirm it. So with the money that we've raised, we have always communicated the vision of building Trust and Will to be the category leader of estate planning, so that I can stop using the TurboTax for estate planning, that we are just as big as a TurboTax, that in the next 5 to 10 years, tens of millions of Americans will have created their estate plan with Trust and Will, or updated if they're coming into our ecosystem with an existing will or trust. They are now managing their estate plans. So this advisor product, the addition of the attorney tier as we bring that to more states, is moving in the direction of estate management, which is involving an attorney, your advisor, insurance professional, or CPA, or a digital equivalent of those. So really creating this holistic package around your estate. And then moving longer term into estate settlement or distribution. So unfortunately, but when people die, which we all will, how do we be able to facilitate as smooth of a transition of assets as possible, that we've notified the family, they have an account with us, we've created an end-to-end digital experience so that there's no need to chase down paperwork, signatures. We're working with all the biggest financial institutions, insurance companies, and mortgage lenders and banks that make this, again, transfer of assets, which the biggest is usually the home, just streamlined overall. So really trying to facilitate an end-to-end digital transfer of wealth and build the category leader. And that's the direction we're going to keep headed in, but always remembering that we're here to serve the everyday family, not the 1%.
Yeah, absolutely. And along those lines, kind of as a follow-up question, Cody, what do you guys do specifically, if you are, or maybe have a plan to, in terms of introducing your product set and your service capacity into low to moderate income? So I work a lot with banks in low to moderate income from a Community Reinvestment Act or CRA standpoint.
Right.
So I definitely have a soft spot for kind of the low to moderate income individual who, like we talked about earlier, definitely did not only did they not learn it in school, but they may not have learned best habits from their surroundings, whether it's parents or friends, that sort of thing. So what do you guys do or maybe look to do
Fantastic question.
to help low to moderate income?
Yeah, so we look at our entire business as a financial inclusion strategy. The reality of the fact that there is 150 million people without these documents, the reality is that about half of those people fall under, they're in the bottom 10% of earners. And estate planning has always had this association with wealth. Oh, you set it up when you're wealthy. Yeah. Kids. There's 45 million parents with children under 18 that do not have an estate plan. That's why we launched the Guardian product. It's $39 for a single parent, and it's $49 for a couple. So at the very least, protect your kids. Do it for them, even if you don't have any assets. Now, on the flip side with our will package is once you get to the 50 plus crowd, so a lot of us are in caregiver roles. We have our parents or grandparents that are still with us, and
Sure.
many of whom are in good health, but over the next 10 to 20 years, that health will diminish and eventually they'll pass on. But what is important is healthcare directives, power of attorney. Can you make decisions on their behalf, financial and medical decisions? Can you access their medical and financial records? So having that conversation just as much with your parents as you with your spouse and your family is incredibly important, regardless of wealth, right? These are
Yeah.
health and basic financial accounts that you might be gaining access to. And for obvious reasons, security and fraud, there's provisions in place with a lot of institutions. But when you
Sure.
have these documents, it gives you incredible access during dire circumstances. And this pandemic, unfortunately, is a big reason why people in the 50 plus crowd come for the health documents, power of attorney, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you guys, Cody, partner with, you've mentioned banks a few different times, and so that
Mm-hmm.
obviously catches my ear. To me, if I'm running a bank, if I've got a community bank,
Mm-hmm.
it would make sense for me to, as a great value add to my customer, right? So if I'm thinking if I'm a community bank and I'm sitting in rural town in Illinois, and obviously the data suggests, like you've mentioned, Cody, that there's a good chance that a lot of my customer base does not have a will, testament. They don't have any kind of estate plan set up. Why would I not reach out to you guys and say, hey, listen, I want to be able to provide this for my customer base? So I either do that kind of directly through you in a partnership and just offer it to my customers, and maybe you guys pay me a percentage for everyone that's referred to you guys, or you take your product and you white label it for my bank. And there's probably 7 different ways to Sunday to do it, but does that make sense? Would that be something? Is that something you guys do or look to do, is partner with?
Oh yeah, it's already in motion. So I'll give 2 examples, one on the insurance side, and then I'll bring it back to the banking example. So right now with one of our partners, Haven Life Insurance, which is a subsidiary of MassMutual. MassMutual is one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Haven Life, if you're a policyholder of their life insurance policies, they have a benefits package called Haven Life Plus. We're one of their partners. So if you're a Haven Life policyholder, you get a free will from Trust and Will, which is fantastic. Or if you're upgrading to the Trust, we discount the price of the Trust with our price of our will. So you save $129.
Yeah.
And along with several other benefits. So we have basically a wholesale distribution model with that partner. And then on the banking side, press release goes out next week, so I'll leave the bank name out. But a top 100 bank in the country is going to, or they've already gone live in their product, but in their consumer banking apps, web and mobile, you have an estate planning module for Trust and Will, which gives you a discounted estate plan. And then there's a small revenue share with the bank. And that's most of partnerships that you would expect in tech in general. It's wholesale or revenue share. What's most important is that we are providing a service of value, and one that does not exist. Go to the biggest banks down to the smallest of credit unions, all the way to the fintechs, the Acorns and Stash and SoFis of the world.
Yeah.
None of them they offer life insurance, they offer auto, home, fill in the blank insurance. No one offers an estate plan, will, or trust. So we're really looking at it as holistically. We want to work with everybody. We always want to co-brand. Like, we want to maintain our brand equity. We don't want to white label. So that people continue to build their trust with Trust and Will. Oh, they work with Trust and Will. They're one of the best estate planning companies in the market today. And I'm really thankful that my bank, credit union, or fintech app provider, gave me an exclusive member rate or discount, or covered the cost entirely, however they structure the deal on the back end.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's incredible, because, again, it had my gears turning as I was thinking through that. So that's awesome. I look forward to hearing the news on that as the financial institution that gets involved with you guys there, because
we got a few big ones. Yeah, we got a few big ones coming in the next month or two. So I wish I could share it today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, because I also think, because I'm involved with ICBA, which is Independent Community Bankers of America. It's the community banking association that's based out of DC. That I think, that would be great for you guys to connect, and maybe there's opportunity that comes with their bank members.
Oh yeah, I would love to partner with them. American Bankers Association. There's some incredible groups that our whole pitch to them would be financial inclusion. That this is a natural benefit to their members and provides great service to their families.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Cody, for you personally, we've talked a lot, and obviously the core of what you guys do is around, family. Of course, that's one of the big cores. For yourself, how important is family for you? obviously as a husband, as a father, and things of that nature. Talk about the importance of family to you, and particularly family as it relates to your business.
Yeah, so as a son, a brother, a husband, and now a dad, I look at family through multiple lenses, as many of us do in life. But it's just given me a perspective of responsibility, and that the same person I am when I'm working is the same person I am at home. There's no two different versions of Cody. And, sometimes it takes getting married and it takes becoming a father to learn these things.
Sure.
And you also just, I'll go back to what I think I said at the beginning, less selfish and more selfless. It's really about helping others. And we've injected that same family mindset that I carry in my personal life into our work culture. So Trust and Most culture is very family oriented. We have a lot of people that are married on the team, parents to be, and we're incredibly flexible with schedules. I mean, if you need to go take your kid to daycare, go take your kid to daycare. If you need to go help out with running errands, go run errands. Like, as long as you're getting your work done, I don't care what your hours are. Be the best version of yourself at home so you can carry that best version of yourself into work every day, regardless of your hours. So I really look at family as one and the same, with the culture we've built at our team at Trustable, and then also how I just live my life as a husband, father, son, and brother.
Yeah, definitely. And you speak to that culture, which goes so far, Cody. And I think one of the things that's coming out of this pandemic is some changes in culture, particularly with leadership's adherence and comfort level with, operating virtually. I can recall kind of coming in, to professional life out of college, and, that very dogmatic sense that you only can go the things that you mentioned. You can only do. You got to take time off. You got to ask me if you can go do it, and then I'll tell you whether you can go and take your kid to daycare or take a day off to recharge or do whatever. And we got to have all our meetings face to face. Because I got to be able to see the white in everybody's eyes and know that I'm not being BS'd by you. Because I think the thought of virtual work for a lot of people in business leadership was people are just out goofing off, and they're not going to get their work done, and things are going to fall through the cracks. And there wasn't this trust and confidence in people,
right?
And I think that's starting to change. So I love when you've kind of combined that culture of family along with your professional life. But I think you'll start to see that in a lot of pockets. Some, like you say, some will be forced to, and then some naturally will adopt it.
Yeah, everyone's situation at home is different. I'm fortunate that I have a space downstairs here that I can work from comfortably. For some of our team, they have roommates, so that it might be the kitchen table for them. It's not the most glamorous of backgrounds, but that's why Zoom's virtual backgrounds are helpful.
Right. Exactly.
But on the flip side is, like, as a business leader, your job is to maximize your team's productivity. And in the new world that we're going to come back to, that productivity might be maximized at working from home. And the office, it's going to be the opposite of what it currently is. You actually go to the office for those days of all hands meetings or collaboration. And then when you need to get into a flow state of busy work, you do work best at home, or you have a private office, or you can go into the office, but it's maybe 25% capacity of what 100% capacity looked like prior to the pandemic. And that's okay. So the entire footprint of corporate America's office setups is going to change. And then secondary, I think that as a leader, at least for our company, as we think about our growing team in the future, because we want to build a large organization, instead of getting, the top floor office in a fancy high-rise downtown, we operate at a half capacity at an HQ and give people a stipend to build out their dream workspace from home, to have the monitor, the desk chair that they want, the desk that they want, that isn't just, carbon copy to look good aesthetically at a big corporate office. So I like, really just gives me a unique perspective on where we can take this and actually save some money and not having to get that top floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a great thought. Definitely, for sure. So as we kind of wrap up here, Cody, I want to ask you, take me back to your toughest day. I always like to ask entrepreneurs and business leaders this, because it's always great to get that unique perspective from everybody. Take me back to one of your toughest days. That could have been a day, a week, a month. For some people, it's a year or more.
Mm-hmm.
That tough day where, either you almost gave up or you're ready to just kind of kick the can down the road. What kept you going? Because I always think there's this innate, kind of thing that rests within people being successful, no matter what it is, sports, business, medical medicine, music, whatever it is, there's something innate in people that keeps them going, even against obstacles, even against tough times. So what is that for you, and kind of unpack that for us?
June 15th, 2017 is a day that I won't forget, because that was the day that after 4 years at my previous company that I founded and had raised millions of dollars for and had recruited a team of 25 and was helping tens of thousands of people in the hospitality industry through the platform we built, was the day that I was let go by the board, and was the weirdest 20 minutes in a boardroom I've ever had, because I was so blindsided by it. I felt so betrayed. I felt foolish. I was embarrassed for myself that I didn't see the early indicators the prior week leading up to this. There's just a couple things that seemed out of place, but I didn't make anything of it. And I was, the reason why I say the word betrayal is I was angry that I wasn't given the feedback at the previous board meeting leading up to this day that this was on the horizon, and that I couldn't find a replacement with my existing co-founders. I couldn't recruit a replacement externally to replace myself and then put myself positioned into a better role. So as naive as I was, and you always have to take that responsibility as CEO. Your head is always on the chopping block, no matter what. And I understand that now. But I was young. I was 26 at the time, and I could see from the board's perspective, is this 26-year-old going to take this company through $100 million exit, or through $1 billion exit, or through IPO, public offering? Maybe not. And they made the decision they made, and they tried to pivot the business into something that didn't work out. And then they rolled it back into the current business that we had started. But it sucked, because for a month I couldn't talk to anybody because I had to get attorneys involved, which was a mess, because I was like, the cards that I was dealt was not fair. And I respected the outcome of being let go as CEO, but the way that it was handled was very poor. So getting legal involved was one thing, and I didn't want to go after the company. I just needed closure beyond what I was given. So it took a month to get that. The attorneys go back and forth, and then announcing. I was like, how do I announce this to my network? Let alone, it took me a day to even tell my wife and to my family that this had happened. I woke up the next morning, because that was a Thursday when it happened. Friday morning, that next day, I woke up at the same time, played it super cool. I left, went to the gym, and I just went back home. And my wife came home early that day. But I told her the next day, I told my family that weekend, and it sucked. But to go back to your question, after this month had expired, and I asked my attorney, I was like, hey, can I write about this in a blog post? I don't want to criticize the company. I need to get something off my chest. It puts the business in a good light, because I still have equity still to this day in that business that's still operating. And I was like, I just need to tell people, hey, I'm a free agent. Like, I need a job. So I wrote this LinkedIn post. It went viral, got like 25,000 hits within a day. Wow. I was on the front page of the San Diego Business Journal the next week, and it led to more opportunities I could have ever asked for in my lifetime. And everybody that knew me closest, even my employees, knew that I would have done that business for the rest of my life. I loved that company and the mission that we were serving. But to not be able to carry out that mission and vision for the business, really what hurt me the most. So I kind of just put them in a good light. I said, hey, I'm back on the market. Let's test the waters. I had some awesome job opportunities. But June 15th, 2017 to August 4th, 2017. August 4th is when I got my first text from my co-founder, Daniel, about Trust Them All. So it was literally a month and a half that it expired. And I was like, do I go work for the man, or do I go be the man that I was destined to be, which is a great entrepreneur, and lead with my values and integrity, and have that same mindset with partners, from co-founders and employees to investors. And that's been the ultimate test of self for the last 2.5, now 3 years, I guess, since that happened, is proving to myself more than anyone that I'm a capable entrepreneur and a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's interesting, to say the least, Cody, of, having gone through something like that, where, you're, again, being blindsided and that sort of thing. And rather than, it doesn't sound like you carried a lot of bitterness, and, obviously you're disappointed, you're upset, it sucks. But, again, innate in you was what I heard from you was character, that, again, you spilled the beans out to, those within your network, and you took a positive approach to getting it off your chest so you could have a closure to it, while also creating an opportunity for you. Again, we go back to that word of, you create an opportunity for yourself And I think people obviously can go back and when they read that article, they can see your heart in that and they can see the character versus, just kind of being crabby about it and, kind of taking a crap on the company, kind of going forward. And I think that positive energy then helped you again, like you said, when you get a text from, now your business partner and now you're able to go and launch a complete another company. So, I love that piece of it. I love the character that you exuded as you were sharing that.
I appreciate it.
I think for, those of you that are listening or if you're watching this on YouTube, that's something to take it, to heart is even in that challenge situation where you may even feel justified to go on the attack and kind of be more nasty and ugly and get your revenge. Taking that approach, which wasn't passive, it was actually still an aggressive approach because you did it fairly quickly and you're able to get things off your chest. And I would share that with people is I think that's so critical. There's a day for me, Cody, that lives in infamy, which is January 4th, 2018, where that same credit union that I mentioned earlier, the CEO calls me in the office at 3:45 p.m. and says, thanks, but no thanks. I was the VP of retail, 6-figure job plus bonus. We were doing very well. So this was more of a blind side as well. I hate that I didn't see things coming. Like you said, there were a few things weird going on, but I didn't have the foresight or enough vision to know that it would lead to that. But this is, again, the 4th day of the year, right? We're budget season. I'm not thinking of, anything like this happening, right? But it did. And like you said, I told my wife, told within my network, and rather than just trash the company and again, rather than stress about where I'm going to find another job and do that kind of thing, I knew I had skill set. And so I've dove into, what I'm doing now is in bank consulting and helping community banks. And so, I love that. I love your story on that. And I love that approach.
Unique. You mentioned the time. Mine was 10 a.m. It was, I went in that morning, did a sales call. I knew the investors were in town, obviously. I wasn't surprised, but I thought the meeting intention was to review finances. So in my head, I'm like ready to laptop open, Excel spreadsheet open. But there's light at the end of the I think there's a few months, if I am being honest, I was very angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't depressed. I was angry. And then now, 3 years later now, since it'll be 3 years next month, I'm oddly happy that it happened because of what I've now achieved with Trust and Will. And I wouldn't have ever thought that this was possible, how fast we've moved, how many awesome wins we've had. And then in life, a beautiful wife and daughter upstairs that is the purpose of why I do what I do. And then I almost feel like my firing and now where I'm at, it promoted me as a better CEO and entrepreneur. And for my previous business partners and that investor, it showed their true colors and as a warning call to anybody that works with them.
No doubt about it. Cody Barbo is our guest today, Trust and Will. Cody, thank you for this. This has been enlightening. It's been educational. And I hope for all of you MYB community, this has been extremely helpful in hearing, Cody articulate, the kind of the process there with his business and then his own journey. Cody, how can people get in touch? How can people connect with Trust and Will? If you would, share all the contact information and how people can get involved.
We're pretty straightforward. At Trust and Will on all social handles, Trust and Will, AND, trustandwill.com. If you want to sign up, feel free to chat with our team. Tell us that you heard about us on the podcast. We'll take care of you. We'll give you a little something. And I'm at Cody Barbo on all social handles. Feel free to follow me. Twitter's probably the best place. I love Twitter, and I'm happy to respond to any questions around entrepreneurship, fundraising, going through the peaks and valleys of this world that is startups for me, and I'm happy to provide some help there.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm actually working with a business partner, and I'm happy to share this with you, Cody, because you'll be getting a communication from me here over the next several weeks, with an idea of a fintech. Both of us are in banking, of course, previously in banking. He's still currently in banking, business partner. And we have a really neat fintech idea that's going to be tied to, kind of low to moderate income community. that we want to, have a conversation with you or someone on your team about.
Yeah, happy to talk it through.
How
Yeah,
we.
I have a half dozen investors that I know are interested in the space already, fintech and financial inclusion programs, and happy to be a sounding board and kind of give you my take on.
Yeah,
I'll play Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful for.
There you go. Yeah, the dude Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, he's ruthless, man. I don't sugarcoat it for founders. They need to hear candid feedback. And
without question. That's part of, again, being successful and avoiding some of the pitfalls. Is you got to have candor and you got to have gator skin in this game.
Thick skin for sure. It goes a long way.
Yep, it certainly does. Yeah. Cody, listen, man, I know you're busy. You've got a lot going on. I appreciate you taking time to join us here on the Minding Your Business podcast. If you find that I can be a resource, definitely reach out. But best wishes and safety to you and your family, and certainly to Trust and Will.
Yes, pleasure, Ron. Thanks.
All right, sounds good, man. Listen, take care. Salute, brother.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Cody Barbo with Trust and Will. Trust and Will, AND. trustandwill.com and at Trust and Will on social media. That'll be in the show notes. So make sure you go and check that out. Get your documentation and everything in place, folks. Okay. You heard Cody give the pricing structure. That's very affordable. I'll tell you right now, my wife and I had this done. We spent way more with an attorney to have that done. So go out and check that out. Have that done. It's very important. It's very important to your legacy. It's very important to how you set things up today and then for the future for your family and your family name. Let him know that you, or whoever you speak to with the company, let them know that you heard about it right here on the Minding Your Business podcast. That was episode number 151, Champ Ron. Make sure, again, you check us out, themybpodcast.com. If you're interested in setting up your own podcast platform, this is a great way to connect with your target audience. If you're a new business, if you've been in business for some time, there's only so many emails people are going to read. There's only so many billboards and signs because there's not as many people out because they're all at home, right? So what are they doing at home? They're on their devices. They're watching Netflix. They're watching Apple TV, but they're also listening to podcasts, and they should be listening to yours. I'd like to be able to help you, be a resource in that. www.brandyourpod, BrandYourPod.com, brandyourpod.com. That's BrandPod. Your brand's voice amplified. Want to help you launch your podcast platform and then also help you monetize it such that it becomes a revenue stream for you so you can enjoy it, and you can also earn revenue as well. So make sure you go to brandyourpod.com. Listen, I'm out. You guys continue to be safe. Do what you have to do to be great. And don't forget, there's opportunity everywhere. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast.